Plate armor, plate armor, plate armor! I'm sick of seeing this stuff, Tom, and talking about it. We need a vacation from Westeros. One of our viewers, Elisa Talbot, recommended this place over here. It's got good sun, good food, and wholly unique cultures to explore. Screw it, Tom. I'm booking the next Dragon Airways flight out. We deserve to treat ourselves. This is the life. Free from the harshness of Westeros, free from the looming threat of those icy bastards in the north. While I do miss Daddy Stannis dearly, it's nice to be in a place where there are no undefeated badass warriors whom it might be entertaining to pit other quality fighters against. Hey there, guys! That's an awful lot of bells in that long hair of yours. Get your work stuff out, Tom. We're doing this. That's right! We've covered the inhuman mountainous monster that is Gregor Clegane. Now it's time to add the most feared warlord in all of Essos to the deck. Who could defeat Khal Drogo? In a first for this series, we're placing a restriction on the contenders. So, Elisa Talbot didn't actually recommend a vacation in Essos, but they did make a brilliant point about our Robert and Mountain videos in that the presence of their plate armor really does lock out a lot of top quality warriors from even having a fair bosh. And we agree, which means we quickly need to talk about plate armor.
Congratulations, Tim! At arm's length, with two hands, with all your strength, you managed to puncture it by about an inch. In the meantime, you've been hit 3 times by the man who's been wearing that plate.
There are actually many practical reasons why many fighters in Essos and beyond the wall don't wear plate armor all too often. So here's the 2 key points. Number 1, it's a pain in the ass time sink to equip properly, and 7, help you if you've got to do it solo. Not good when you need to be mobile and ready to fight at the drop of a hat. You know, like the Rangers beyond the wall. Number 2, it doesn't slow you down. That's 100% pure grade Hollywood bollocks. The speed difference in it or out of it is so negligible, it's practically indistinguishable from an unarmored state. But what it does do is screw with your stamina and heat management more so than any other armor. A factor exacerbated further by non-mild climates, trapping or sapping heat depending on if it's hot or cold. It's not because they're stupid or unenlightened to the gloriousness of the unrivaled protection full plate bestows. It's just not ideal for the way they fight or where they fight. So let's make this fair. Anyone who rocks up to the fight in plate armor is disqualified. This will be the most boring video ever if I say Dane wins because plate armor. Jamie wins because plate armor. Fuck, I'm putting myself to sleep here. As always, this is who could win, not who will win. But what do our fighters need to be wary of, and what can they exploit with Drogo? He actually lacks quite hard for feats and fights. More so than Arthur Dane. At least the Sword of the Morning has the accolade of defeating his era's Gregor Clegane / benchmark warrior. We've basically got to extrapolate his capabilities from this single, show-only fight, his reputation, and what we know of Dothraki armaments. But we do, kind of, have enough to paint a semi-accurate picture. Drogo, however, is that one dickhead who took all 8 points out of the common sense stat, you know, the one that allows you to equip armor, and dumped those extra points in strength, speed, agility, and size. If Gregor and Robert are high damage dealing tanks, Drogo is the scariest glass cannon DPS in the main series. He's very big, at least Momoa's 6'4", but more likely Robert's 6'6". He's very fast, he's exceptionally strong, and as leader of his Khalasar, be sure he'll be incredibly skilled with all the Dothraki killing tools. Bow, whip, daggers, and the infamous Dothraki Arek. Hit him once in the right spot, and despite his size, you will probably put him down. But good luck actually hitting him before he savagely cuts you to pieces in the blink of an eye. The best way to fuck with Drogo's game plan is exploiting his lack of armor, his Jaime rivaling levels of pride and arrogance, and his lack of weapon reach, with his longest viable weapon being his arrow. We can practically disregard the bow and whip. The bow will be a warbow drawweight, i.e. immensely fucking heavy, and with the typical starting distances of a duel being as close as a couple of feet apart with the weapons almost touching, to no more than a couple of meters from the lead foot, his odds of losing that thing before a top tier fighter closes are next to non-existent. And whips are just really shit weapons. Fight me. So, can anyone do it? Well, Tom, enough dicking around, let's kick things off, and at number 7, it's... for fuck's sake. It's Oberyn Martell. This fucking guy is close to attaining meme status with how he swaggers onto these lists of ours, Tom. But fair's fair, he does meet the entry requirements. Honestly, I'm just getting him out of the way, even though the guy kind of is the easy cinch number 1 safest bet. But let's give someone else a chance. I'm sick of this Dornish bastard stealing all the glory. But to quickly make his case, if he can get a poison spear into a plate-armored opponent while avoiding getting hit once, he can for damn sure do it to an unarmored one. When armor isn't involved, the spear is the king of weapons, and because Oberyn is easily Drogo's league of skilled and agile, the Khal is absolutely screwed purely by the reach disparity between the pointy poison stick and his arrow. Force Oberyn to fight with a poisoned sword, and things might be a little more interesting. Assuming Drogo doesn't start swinging his dick around with displays like this, of course. But with the World of Ice and Fire's rules being take him whatever you want as long as you stay on foot, the Horse Lord doesn't have a prayer. Enough said, really. Our number 6 is the son of the legendary warrior, you wouldn't know him, Sir Bronn of the Blackwater. Bronn is Westeros' equivalent to Marmite. If Marmite were a cold-blooded sellsword with no conscience and roguish charm, and not a delicious spread for toast. But no matter which side of the scale you fall on, we can all agree Bronn is incredibly dangerous. He's skilled, cunning, and an incredibly efficient killer. Catelyn likens him to a panther, Tyrion likens him to Jaime. Though do remember there is a certain degree of intended flattery in that statement, but regardless, Tyrion is clearly acknowledging Bronn is a fair few cuts above average. Still, this is an incredibly tough fight for the sellsword, make no mistake. He is completely outclassed by Drogo's physicality and natural reach by a not insignificant margin. And if he's not careful, he could find himself overcome in very short order by Drogo's top-tier skill in a foreign and therefore unfamiliar style of swordplay. Distance is also a constant concern. Bronn needs to keep it close enough to de-incentivize Drogo using his bow, which Bronn has no defense for, but not so close Drogo can take it to grappling and knives. Because if that happens, Bronn is, without a shred of a doubt, totally fucked beyond all recovery. Basically, it's fencing distance or death. Where Bronn's edge lies is in how his unassuming appearance, coupled with his cold efficiency and ruthless cunning, will play quite nicely against Drogo's showboating and toying with his prey. Drogo's Arok, both the Shamshir/Scimitar-inspired book iteration and the Kopej-inspired show version, is a cut-centric sword. Both iterations are pretty fucking crappy at thrusting, which means for the most part, Bronn's ringmail will provide decent protection against it in the squishy zones covered by it. However, unlike plate armor, it's still going to really fucking hurt if he gets whacked. Bronn's longsword is also arguably a better dueling weapon than Drogo's Arok, since it's also a good cutter, but also pretty great for thrusting. And with Drogo's lack of armor, any zone of the body is a valid target for the stabby. Bronn can do this, but he must time his moment. If he exposes his true competence too soon, Drogo will probably stop fucking around immediately, and Bronn's lost his most valuable edge. And if he drags it out, Drogo might get bored and decide it's time to finish him. Timing, Bronn. It's all in your timing. At number 5, it's the Chad beyond the wall, Mance Rayder. Underrated doesn't even begin to explain how I feel about Mance. Born beyond the wall, but taken in by the Night's Watch, Mance rose to become one of the Watch's finest rangers. On top of that, the guy became king in a realm where only the strongest may lead, and if you want to rule, you damn sure better be ready to fight for it. Of course, this guy is bloody skilled in single combat. Like Bronn, Mance's dog in the fight is not his physicality. The guy is of average height, so probably about 5'10", broad-chested, but notably slender. So he's probably quite quick and reasonably strong, but nothing exceptional. Certainly not the 6'4" to 6'6" lump of lean muscle that Drogo inhabits. Needless to say, absolutely fucked if he's got to go hand to hand, and very on the back foot when it comes to agility, speed, strength, and natural reach. Where Mance invested his skill points wisely, though, was his weapon proficiencies. He's good with swords, axes, spears, and bows, but where he's really shown his quality is his wielding of greatswords. Greatswords have near polearm levels of reach. So yep, you better back the fuck up, Horse Lord. But where they really shine is area denial. Trying to close with someone wielding a greatsword is a very daunting prospect. They aren't impossible to parry, but they aren't fun to stop and require really damn good structure and form in order to avoid the greatsword just crashing straight through your guard. And that's for two-handed weapons like longswords. For a one-handed Shamshir-type weapon like the Arek, even with Drogo's immense strength, he's going to struggle to halt the momentum and sheer speed a greatsword moves at. As contrary to the Hollywood trope, they are hella fast once they start moving. Mance, like Bronn, is also rocking some armor. Ringmail, plus the additional protection of thick fur and an iron and bronze helmet, which fucks with the effectiveness of Drogo's Arek and gives the king beyond the wall a little breathing room. The fight comes down to the agility disparity and Drogo's peak reflexes versus Mance's ability to manage and maintain distance. If the Horse Lord can get a beat on Mance's arcing swings and time it right, he could make it into reach, and the fight's going to get a lot dicier for Mance. But with someone as clearly proficient as Mance behind that blade, it's a tall order. All hail the king beyond the wall! At number 4, it's the Norvoshi with the choppy Areo Hotah. How good is Hotah really? That is the real question. He's got one fight in the books and one instance of flexing in the show, and both times it was against already beaten opposition. There's enough there to say he's good, but is he good enough to beat the Khal? We don't have much in the way of physicality stats, but considering he can carry his 6-foot-long axe on his back and no one mentions an irritating noise as it drags across the floor, we can infer he's probably pretty tall. And his broad shoulders, combined with how casually he carries Prince Doran around like it's nothing, infers he's very strong. The speed of which he deals Oakheart those final blows before the Kingsguard can even raise his sword does indicate he's pretty fucking fast, and his body is covered in enough battle scars to give Belwas a run for his money, so he's clearly got heaps of fighting experience. You know what, Tom? Fuck it. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. This guy is in with a shot. Like Mance, Areo's biggest edge is in bringing a weapon that fucks with Drogo's reach, both natural and weapon-wise, in his big fuck-off axe. However, Areo's area denial isn't quite as secure as Mance's due to the shaft of the axe being wood. Factoring in how strong and agile Drogo is, and how quick he's shown he can move, if he can get past the axe head, he can neutralize Areo's threat by grabbing his wood shaft. For Fuck's sake, they'll have a field day with that one, Tom. But even up close, Hotah can stay in the fight, protected via his helmet and his copper scale armor against the slashes of Drogo's sword. The reason we've got Hotah one rung higher than Mance is his size. That's literally it. We don't know exactly how big he is, but unlike Mance, there's enough there to suggest he's far bigger than average, and so not totally screwed if the Horse Lord makes it past his axe and it goes to hands and knives. Still, watch out for those daggers, dude. The Khal is one quick mofo. At number 3, it's Strong Belwas. Of all the hypothetical fights on this list, this is the one I want to see. It would be so entertaining watching them both trying to toy with one another and wind each other up. Belwas with playful intent, Drogo with white-hot murder in his eyes. Strong Belwas is one of those S-tier fighters who constantly slips under the radar. Undefeated, his body engraved with countless proof he's not just talk, and backed by Barristan fucking Selmy, as a worthy companion to have should things get violent. Belwas is big, strong, fast, and unbelievably agile for one of his, shall we say, ample physique. He may not be the brightest candle of the bunch, but he's a scholar of combat, demonstrated quite handily against Marines champion who had every fucking advantage going for him and still got shit on by Belwas. Quite literally. This is probably the most even match of the bunch. Both are big, strong, and fast, and both wield the same weapon. The Khal likely has more agility for obvious reasons, not trying to body shame, it's just common sense, and Belwas might be able to weight bully Drogo up close in a grapple. Not to mention, Belwas employs a buckler alongside his Harrag, which gives him greater defensive options. But where I think the scale tips just a little in Belwas' favour is his +2 experience buff against Dothraki. Belwas has fought enough Horse Lords to come to the conclusion they are amusing opponents. An indirect way of saying he knows their modus operandi in combat, inside and out. Of everyone on this list, this guy knows what to expect, and that is an indisputable edge. Where our strong boy needs to be very careful is stamina. Again, not trying to body shame, just stating the obvious. A plump fellow like Belwas is far more likely to gas out before a lean specimen like Drogo. And if Drogo is wise enough, he could leverage this to a victory via attrition. Despite this, Belwas has proven he can beat a Horse Lord or two. But can he beat the best of them? On a good day, I'd take that bet. Belwas, Belwas, Belwas. Come on, guys. Belwas. Come on, just me. Oh, fuck you all. Now let's go to the wall. Hey, that's you know what it, Tom. At number 2, it's Sir Arthur Dayne in disguise. What? Sorry. At number 2, it's Sir Qhorin. No, sir. No, okay. At number 2, it's Qhorin Halfhand. Of course, the finest swordsman of the Night's Watch had to make it to the party. How do you know he's the finest swordsman? Well, when fans are making pretty well-argued cases that you might be an exiled Arthur Dayne, or Gerald Hightower, or Seven knows what other great warrior, and the one prolonged sword fight you're depicted in, you're trying your darndest to purposefully lose to a pretty skilled swordsman, let's not knock John, who is also rocking Valyrian steel, and you're still unintentionally wiping the floor with them, with your non-fucking dominant hand, you know, you're evidently pretty up there. Qhorin is notably tall and very fast even in his older years, which diminishes Drogo's main advantages of natural reach and peak agility, rocking ringmail, thick furs, with the longsword his preferred weapon of choice. It's also worth noting Qhorin's left-handed wielding of his sword is also a massive edge. If you've ever done HEMA yourself, you'll know fighting lefties is a massive fucking pain in the arse, due to the unfamiliar attack vectors from them and their frustrating familiarity with the norm. I'll not beat around the bush here or drag this out. I think Drogo is nothing short of fucked. When he's not trying to lose on purpose, I could see Qhorin just getting down to business, outfencing Drogo and ending him rightly as soon as the opportunity presents itself. We are the Watchers on the Wall. So watch it, Onslaught. And we've made it to our number one pick and safest bet. Minus Oberyn, of course. Who would I put my dragons or whatever funny foreign currency they use in Essos on if they were to meet the Khal in the fighting pits? What is his name?
I'm Syrio Forel.
That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
If you ever needed the old adage of styles make fights summed up in a singular matchup, it would be this one. Syrio is quick, granted, but hands down the smallest, meekest, least physically exceptional individual on this list. But by the 7, if you need a non-plate armored fighter to fuck Drogo up, this is your man. And it all comes down to his fighting style, the legendary water dance. This is basically the World of Ice and Fire's equivalent of rapier fencing. How do we know this? Well, water dancing swords are described as long and slender with a favourable thrusting point, and the Bravosi are pretty big on civilian dueling. Bravos is inspired by Renaissance-era Italy and Croatia, where civilian dueling was commonplace. I'll give you 3 guesses what long and slender, dueling-focused sword with a favourable thrusting point was popular in that time period in that region. If you've got no armor and the weapons are sword length or less, and you're going against a highly skilled user of this weapon, you are not winning more times than you lose. And no one would blame you. You're against a sword and swordplay that is overtly specialized for 1v1 dueling. The immense reach, combined with the speed at which that point can move, and the deceptive difficulty in knocking it about, makes it a complete fucking nightmare for anything outside a mirror match, broadsword, or maybe a nice big greatsword. With a sword that's only really good at cutting, you're even more on the back foot, as the arcing motions required to throw a cut leave you extremely open to a rapier's thrust. And Syrio isn't just good at this style of swordplay, he's a bona fide master, and back in his prime may have possibly been in contention for the best fencer alive. I mean, look at this guy, and that's with a bloody lead-filled wooden training sword. With no armor to protect him and a sword that's poorly optimized for this type of dueling, Khal Drogo becomes Khal Swiss cheese far more times than not against the Dancing Master. What do we say to the God of Death, Syrio?
Not today.
And that's our take. We hope you enjoyed it, guys. The floor is now yours. Can you name any fighters we missed? Remember, no plate armor.